It's the MVWF podcast with your hosts, Damian Andrews and Eddie Stanks. That's right, folks. It is the Super 32 second round post show with your host, Damian Andrews, and my guest on the phone right now, Eddie Stank, who's one half of the bookers for this tournament. Eddie, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, Damon?
It's going great. What a fantastic tournament. I got to give you and AJ the Giant all the credit in the world for putting this tremendous event together.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal.
So let's review some of the results here. What happened in the first match, Eddie? What'd you think?
Well, which event are we talking about? Because all the matches have been phenomenal.
Let's just start at the beginning of the day.
All right. So, what was our first match?
It was Doyle versus Uppercut? No.
It was. No,
it was LBA versus... Oh, it was Little Bitch Ass versus Adrian Knight.
Yeah, that's it. The one that Little Bitch Ass totally fucked up? Should have won that match?
Yeah, I mean, he fucking snatched defeat from the jaws of victory, did he not?
He did. You know what? But that's the resiliency. If you watch Adrian Knight's career path, he's definitely shown that he's capable of taking a beating and coming back. I think he did it against Adrian the Giant last year, and he's shown it in his matches, the tag matches with the Jackson brothers.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, Homeboy got his ass kicked for pretty much the entirety of a 10-minute match, but it was that one super kick that knocked him out. And I tell you, I mean, that's why when I go back and I talk about things like, and I guess it's just apropos that, or coincidence of sorts, that this sort of thing happened in this match, because I was just talking about the 27 fork strike match between Ron Awesome and Skinny Wolf back in the day, where Skinny Wolf got he landed nothing for like the better part of like 20 minutes. And Ron Awesome just proceeded to torture this guy, but he reaches into his pocket, or into his tights, pulls out brass knucks, and that one shot was enough to fucking get the victory. And we saw something very similar here. I mean, not to the extent of the violence that we'd seen, between Ron and the Wolf, but ultimately, I mean, Adrian Knight, I mean, he really didn't look good in this match, other than the fact that we know he's a closer.
Right. Well, you gotta kind of think that maybe, by chance, LBA gassed himself out. And just had nothing left to survive that one shot.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? That's a good point, because, I mean, he was like lightning out there. And, I mean, he was just you couldn't get a hold of him. I mean, just nothing worked against him. He was all over Adrian Knight the whole match, and for nothing.
Yeah, everything was perpetual motion with that guy.
Yeah. Moving right along.
But it's good to see LBA back, though.
Yeah. Moving along, Kenny Omega faced Mr. Nightmare. Mr. Nightmare, I'm going to have to say that's a bit of an upset. Mr. Nightmare he took some of the heaviest shots in that match, but it just goes to show you, as just like his tag team partner, when he goes for that tornado armbar, it's devastating. He really knows how to apply it and get the tap out.
That is true, but if you go back and watch the match, the turning point was when he did the kick.
Yeah. Yeah.
At that point is when things started falling apart for Omega.
Yeah. Also on
another good resilient match, though.
Yeah. Johnny Uppercut returns to singles action against his hated foe, Ryan Doyle. Doyle just went out there and did what he's been doing since the match with Kevin Welch at the 20th anniversary show. In that he's just going out there taking a beating and finding a way to come back to win.
Right. I don't know if anyone can beat Ryan Doyle. That guy takes a beating and keeps on taking.
And wins.
Yeah, exactly. The guy has resiliency out the backside. He's losing it. But, I mean, that guy doesn't lose. Like, I've never seen Doyle dominated, ever.
Yeah.
In any match.
I mean, the closest we came was, of course, in that tag title match a little while back with the Jacksons. I mean, they hit the Jacksonian on him not once but twice. and it's just like, his insides just must be hamburger at this point, because I mean,
it yeah.
because I mean that was exactly what Uppercut focused on. His midsection, trying to take away the ribs, the breath, his ability to breathe, his core strength, all of those things that Doyle relies upon, and Doyle keeps relying on his ground game to get him through it.
Right. Well, I think Damon Andrews slipped up and revealed the unidentified injury on Ryan Doyle, and now that might prove to benefit Mr. Nightmare going into his match with Doyle next week.
Well, you know what? I mean, I said during the show that that his injuries were undisclosed, and they are. I mean, there's no official medical report coming out that says that that's exactly what's wrong with him. But in every match that he has, that's what everyone seems to be focusing on. So anyone who might be watching tape, and scouting a Doyle as an opponent must be coming to that conclusion. That's all there is to it,
Right. Oh, I mean, if it is ribs, an internal injury of some sort, bruised organs perhaps, but it doesn't seem to affect his ability to continue to win some way.
Yeah. I mean, he goes out and he suffers. He definitely goes out there and suffers.
Well, he just had 2 rough matches back-to-back in the last 2 days, so which will be a well-deserved couple days off for Doyle.
Yeah, the break now, now that we're through the first 2 rounds of the tournament, much of what was agreed upon in deciding the ins and outs of this tournament was that there was going to be a pace to it. That we weren't just going to go week to week on the Friday show and maybe sometimes a Sunday show, which we have, but I mean the events are piling up, and now there's going to be a little bit of a break now that we're down to the semifinals.
Yeah, little time for the competitors to catch their wind and do a little scouting, because I mean you got 4 matches that are going to be phenomenal in 10 days.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the news report on the 2K19 game, King Slender injured, Giant Panther injured, Ryan Doyle injured, Skinny Wolf injured. All of them cleared to wrestle, mind you. But you got to know that just the fact that there's a continual news cycle on these guys repeatedly mentioning how they're so dinged up, though not specifically mentioning what it is, for the sake of protecting the camps, that they're in, while in training. I mean, it really goes to show, well, fuck, I mean, the only person that's left on that list is Doyle, and it's just a testament to his greatness that he continues to persevere. Yeah.
I mean, as we said, Doyle's the only one on that list that's still competing in the tournament, but how the hell is Ryan Crawford not injured? Let's start with that.
Right, and that's what. Thank you for the segue there, because it was about time to talk about the first half of the show tonight. The main event, the MVWF champion, Gi-Man Ryan Crawford, showing the world what it's like to be a real man and what it's like to be man enough to be with hot Asian wife. Are you kidding me? The circumstances of that match. Now you're talking. You initially want to start talking about the injury, but I'll or at least what was trying to be exploited there. But I want to talk about before we get to that. We'll definitely get back to it. The moment in the match that was the most pivotal, and that was the 1-2 punch of the Shadow King reviving the black magic that he used against Rock Holly to circumvent Ryan Crawford's. He was in control of that match at that point, and the Shadow King took it away from him, hit the super driver, dropped him right on his head, and wouldn't you know it, the insurance policy, hot Asian wife, comes through.
Yeah. Exactly. It must be nice having someone to bail you out in your matches.
Well, Eddie Stank, I mean, you may want to talk to your booking partner in all of this and see what AJ the Giant has to say. Well, of course, once he finally catches his breath, but we'll get to him in a little while. But you know what, though? I mean, otherwise, as you were saying, the Shadow King obviously went into the match with a plan to go after the the head injury that Crawford had from last year, correct?
It appeared that was his game plan.
Yeah. A couple of tombstones, a cradle pile driver, eventually the super driver that Scott Steiner invented so many years ago, dropping Crawford on his head, trying to re-aggravate those injuries that he suffered last year during the B1 Climax tournament against both Hector and Kyle Empire. And, I mean, I can't say that Crawford is going to be 100% going into the rest of this tournament. He definitely finds himself in a weakened position right now because there's no way he's 100% coming out of that match.
Yeah, there's no way he's all there right now. He can't be.
I mean,
but
go ahead.
Oh, I'm in shock. I give props to him, but I want to point out something, Damien. If Hot Asian's wife has been constantly bailing out Crawford, she was the reason he defeated Welch.
Mm-hmm.
She was the reason that he got past the Shadow King.
Yep.
Where was Hot Asian's wife in the four-way tag title match? Why was she absent from that event?
Because there were too many people. You can only have 8 controlled characters out there at any given time.
Is it becoming a thing where Crawford can't win unless Hot Asian wife's there?
These editorial comments brought to you by Eddie Stank.
Well, Crawford's 3 or 4-0 since she's been around, so I'm just saying.
Yep.
And 2 of those matches he should have lost.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, but isn't it just desserts, though? The Shadow King keeps in his reserve this thing that he can do, where he teleports off the mat with someone else in control and then sneaks up behind him using his black magic. Isn't that just desserts for a guy like the Shadow King, for an even dirtier player in the game, for Ryan Crawford, who really only benefited from the timing of when Hot Asian wife decided to interfere on his behalf, distracting the referee.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not saying that it's anything bad about Hot Asian wife. It's good for him. I mean, he's got a Hot Asian wife. Good for the guy. But, disregarding the fact that the Shadow King pulls these little parlor tricks, so I'm going to call them parlor tricks, to become victorious, I don't see the Shadow King succeeding at the soloist. He really hasn't done a whole lot.
He's one half of the World Tag Team Champion, sir.
But that's not a soloist. That's a tag partner.
Right. But if we're talking,
and it wasn't him who won that match. It was Tommy List.
Correct. I entirely agree. But he beat Rock Holly. He beat Brandon Bones.
But he used black magic to beat Rock Holly, and he beat Brandon Bones legitimately.
Yes.
But besides that, he has lost to Brian Crawford. He has lost to AJ the Giant, and he beat up Jimmy Controversy, which he's been saying a whole lot.
Right.
So show me where the Shadow King has really succeeded as a soloist.
I guess we shall continue to see because obviously, I mean, the Shadow King laid down a challenge last night to Brandon Bones to get a tag team partner and maybe challenge them for the World Tag Team titles. But of course, the success of the Kingdom of Nightmares right now, they're both still in this tournament. And the Jackson boys are owed a tag title rematch. So it's...
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But look what he did. He picked a fight with the guy that he beat. The only guy he beat.
Well, I got to say the champion looks strong.
Why is he challenging somebody that he would competition-wise?
Yeah.
I think he's scared.
Who, the Shadow King?
Yeah. I think the Shadow King's actually generally afraid now.
Well,
he's not challenging anyone that might actually beat him. He's challenging people that he has beaten or been beaten, or involved in beating.
Well, he didn't have a choice but to face Crawford here. I mean, are you saying that the Shadow King would have... Are you saying the Shadow King would have like under normal season rules, like he wouldn't have taken the match with Crawford?
Well, I could have saw the Shadow King pulling some rank, or doesn't he run the MVWF now? The League of Shadows?
Yes, he does.
So he could pull rank and be like, I don't want to fight that guy. Let me fight Giant Panther.
Right. All right.
Then again, he's not in the tournament, so it doesn't matter.
Okay. All right, folks. I mean, with that being said, that was an amazing event right there on paper. That was probably one of the most solid events that we've had this year. I mean, a 1, 2, 3, 4 punch right there of all main event worthy matches. And now on to the C and the D block. We opened up with who the fuck did we open up with?
I do the same thing. We opened up with
Honky Lips and Fisticuffs.
Yeah, which Honky Lips came up victorious again.
Yep, and in dominating fashion. Fisticuffs obviously going 16, 17 minutes with Brandon Bones just the other day. Did not do much for his stamina. He didn't appear to have a whole lot left in the tank.
No, he looked gassed.
Yeah.
So credit to Brandon Bones, the assist on Honky's victory.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know what? I'm not trying to give Brandon Bones credit for Honky's victory. I mean, Honky Lips put him away himself. You know, Brandon Bones was nowhere in that ring. But that being said, I mean, Fisticuff's been on the shelf. I mean, of course his stamina was going to be questioned, considering how long he's been gone and what kind of shape he looks like he's in right now.
Yeah, he looks a little doughy.
Yeah. Moving right along, we had a tremendous show-stealing match with CM Punk and Arn Patrick.
Yeah. I gotta say, after this event, I could see the future of the MVWF is bright.
You're saying that Arn Patrick is the future of the MVWF?
I think him and Walker have a future, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Punk...
I don't know about Turbotron.
Yeah. But... this new crop that's coming up? Yeah. I hear you. I mean, you know what, though? But Punk found himself in the same position that Frankie Fisticuffs was in, where it's like, well, you've been gone. Like, Punk has been gone since January of 2014 from the wrestling ring. And, you know, that's a good 5 years. You know, I mean, the ring rust and stuff like that's even longer than Fisticuffs was gone since the last time he competed. But, of course, the VWA was not really on a full-time schedule last year in the tag team division.
Right.
But Punk relied on his experience. He endured 2 of those bolo clotheslines that he throws and dodged a third, saving his life. He kicked out twice. You know, Arn Patrick kicked out twice of the go to sleep. He survived the Anaconda Vice. Like it was he was the third time got him. You know, it took.
I heard that most. Yeah,
it was the Punk threw everything he had at him to put him down. The Macho Man elbow that he missed initially hit the second time. You know, I mean, Arn Patrick bled and paid his dues today.
Yep, I think it was Arn Patrick's coming out party. Even though he lost, he was victorious in defeat.
Yeah, kinda. You know, I mean, which is kind of like thematic because I mean, his match with Nick Jackson, the Destroyer Nick Jackson, not the Nick Jackson from the Young Bucks. You know, Nick looked pretty fucking tough in his match, considering what a one-sided affair it was. It took a lot to put him down, and Arn Patrick was more than willing to give it to him. Same kind of situation here, just super extended. The veteran only relying on, you know, his experience to truly get him by. Otherwise, had Arn Patrick hit that third, you know, bolo clothesline there, I think we would have had a different result.
Yeah, I think Arn Patrick picked up the victory. I don't think Punk gets up in the third one.
Yeah. What do you think Punk has left for the next round?
This break will be good for him, given he's in his mid-30s.
Yeah. And, so also, Kevin Welch defeating Giant Panther pretty handily. But the real news was what happened after the match.
Yeah. Crawford.
Yeah.
Crawford making an appearance and then getting his ass handed to him by Welch.
Yeah, just like Kevin did when he ran in on Crawford. They have a date with destiny, do they not?
I believe they do.
Yeah.
They will see each other at some point, whether it's a title match or if it's just there'll be a feud somewhere.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, Kevin has shown that he's tournament strong. He won the Ultimate Sacrifice tournament. I mean, it was a very different scenario, you know, being that it was no DQ, hardcore, and all that.
It's a great storyline, those two.
Yeah.
Best friends, steal a wife. Usually the end of relationships are there when you steal someone's wife.
Yep. Only with the assistance of Hot Asian Wife, when Kevin ran in on Ryan, did Crawford actually get the advantage. Tried to take out the ankle. Kevin seemed okay, taped it up. Didn't seem to be bothering him today.
Nope.
But defeated Giant Panther pretty handily. Panther, his gas tank was obviously low, just like Frankie Fisticuffs. He made the best of it. He dodged that flying uppercut.
Might be the last time we see Giant Panther. I think that's his career.
Yeah. And
I could be wrong.
And finally, Walker stepped up to be a man against AJ the Giant, but again, another veteran, or a guy with more experience at least, taking advantage. I wouldn't say he took advantage. Excuse me. I wouldn't say AJ the Giant took advantage of Walker. Kayfabe, baby. But you know what I'm saying? Like, he gave AJ everything he had, and you know what? Again, came down to a single moment when Walker stepped up to the second rope to try and hit the Patriot missile. And wouldn't you know it? He missed. AJ came back to win the match. And when AJ the Giant clamps on that bear hug, everyone taps out. Do they not?
I believe it's about 98% successful.
Yeah. Because
I think Brandon Bones actually survived it.
He might be the only
If
one.
I'm not mistaken. I think so. I don't think many people have. Well, Brock only survived one, but he didn't survive the second one in the B1 climax.
Right.
But yeah, I think most of the time it's game over if that's latched on.
Right.
But you got to know, AJ the Giant's been a notorious tournament fighter. That guy doesn't lose until the finals.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Story of his career.
That's the thing. Isn't that just the thing about this right now? Because AJ has that history, and holy shit, you know, does he manage to find a way to get there? And boy, was he throwing Walker around today. I mean, he was powerful.
Oh yeah, he was all over Walker for the first 5 minutes of that match.
Yep.
And then he wasn't able. Then he went for a move off the top rope on the outside and changed all the momentum.
That's right. You know what? And speaking of being dinged up, you know, Walker took advantage of that daring move. The Giant jumped off the top rope to the outside, absolutely splattered his knees. It is, again, you know, we talk about Crawford being dropped on his head and wondering, like, what is the status of his injury at this point. But
AJ carries all that weight on his knees. If he's got a knee problem, that's going to hinder him going forward.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a tough competition coming up, so no guarantees.
Yeah, boy, does he. And thank you for the segue yet again. So let's talk about round 3. In no particular order here, and I guess the order of these matches, it's going to be a singular event, the semifinals. It'll be 4 matches.
Yep.
And then after that, you and AJ the Giant can book 3 matches for the finals for the big pay-per-view. Actually, you'll actually book more matches than that because it'll be 7 matches for the pay-per-view. So, but the main event will be the finals of the Super 32 tournament. And so let's talk about the semifinals.
Well, you got 4 matches, so we'll start with Crawford versus Adrian Knight.
Okay, why don't you give me a breakdown on that? Who's going to win?
I'm going with Crawford. I think Crawford's got the veteran presence. He has shown that he's a 3-time champion, obviously. Adrian Knight's good, but I don't know if he's going to be able to survive Crawford.
Right, because he didn't look good today.
But it also depends on how Crawford feels.
Yeah.
If he's still having issues with his head after the Shadow King match.
I'm going to go with
the edge of Crawford.
I'm going to go with Crawford too, but I'll tell you what. Don't overlook that one moment. That one super kick. Kicking Crawford in the head with a knockout shot is something that could be very likely to happen here.
Yeah.
You know, if Adrian Knight has enough power in that kick to kick a vulnerable man in the head and knock him out, that is a scenario I can see happening here. But I'm still going with Crawford. I think Crawford will find a way.
I do too. He's got the veteran presence to find a way to win. Smash the defeat.
Okay, next.
Ryan Doyle and Mr. Nightmare.
And who are you calling it for?
I did previously state that nobody can beat Doyle.
Nobody.
So I'm gonna have to go and say Doyle just because I made that statement. I don't think Doyle can be beat in a singles match without some type of controversy surrounding it.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, he's lost to Kevin Welch twice now.
True.
And, there was a distraction by Hot Asian Wife, which planted the seed for all of this nonsense that we're seeing now. And it cost Doyle the World's Heavyweight Championship.
It did.
All right. I'm gonna go with Doyle. I didn't want to say it. I don't want to say it because I hate betting my money on an injured guy. But look at him. Look at what he's doing. It's inarguable.
I think fate's on Doyle's side right now.
All right, moving right along.
We have Kevin Welch and MC Honky Lips.
Fascinating match right there. Who's going to win?
I'm going to say Honky Lips. They are both going to be high-flying. It's going to be a fast-paced match, and I don't think it's going to be a very long match.
Well, you know what? I mean, one of the X factors in all of this to remember, too, and this applies to everyone who's still in this tournament, is that we're late in this tournament now. And a lot of guys are showing the wear and tear. A lot of guys in this tournament, and Honky Lips is not one of them.
No, he looks like he hasn't even broken a sweat.
I mean, Kevin's gone out there and had some extended matches and stuff. He's had a tough time of it. But you know what? I think he is motivated in a way that he has not been motivated since he won the title. And I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to say Honky Lips suffers his first loss in the tournament.
Well, the question comes down to this. Is Honky Lips going to have Shadow King out there with him? Because if Shadow King's out there, Honky Lips has an advantage. If Shadow King isn't out there, then it's more of an even match.
Yeah, well, you know what? I mean that is definitely something that could happen. That being said, because the League of Shadows have shown a lot of aggression when their guys are at ringside. Shadow King punched Brandon Bones, causing a disqualification against Rock Holly. Honky Lips tried to interfere in the match with AJ the Giant. These guys are not good dudes.
Yeah. They're villains.
And now Shadow King doesn't have anything else to do, so he has plenty of time to be at ringside to support Honky Lips to ensure that the League of Shadows takes this tournament.
Yeah, well, Shadow King doesn't have anything to do to his big match.
Yeah.
Which is yet to be announced.
But I'm going to say that Kevin is going to pull out something resourceful. He was super dominant against Giant Panther today. He wrestled an epic in the first round against Rock Holly. That is something that just can't be ignored. So he bounced from, the gas tank draining match with Rock Holly and then dominated Giant Panther. I think he's got the momentum.
Well, we know how our predictions go.
Mm-hmm.
Not very good.
Yep. Yeah, so we could be condemning people in every case here. All right, and lastly,
AJ the Giant versus CM Punk.
And
that's a tough one.
Who do you say is going to win it?
I think the Punk is going to win.
Oh man, going against the guy you booked the event with? Ooh.
I just think he's going to. I just don't know. My gut says it's going to be Punk. For some reason, I feel like Punk's going to get to the finals now.
He looks really resourceful out there tonight.
Yep. I think he's going to get to the finals, and he's going to mess up the whole thing by winning the whole damn thing now.
I mean, he's got a big money contract from Brandon Bones. He's got the Lesnar contract. It was announced tonight. You know, he's not going to be doing every show. He's going to be used in a featured spot. You know, so you know how that kind of booking goes. And who knows what the Shadow King's going to do with the CM Punk.
Yeah, it's true.
You know?
Well, I mean, if CM Punk wins the tournament, he might have some word to say to the Shadow King or whoever's running the show and be like, hey, you know, I want to see Ryan Crawford.
Right.
I'll rest until Match Mania, then I'll come back and fight Crawford.
Absolutely. So are there any matches to announce just yet for the finals pay-per-view just yet?
Or no, I don't have any done yet, but I need your prediction there, buddy.
Oh, for the Giant versus Punk? I'm going with AJ the Giant, man. He's I find it just too difficult to bet against him. I know I haven't bet for him in the past, like particularly. I have predicted against him. I predicted against him, you know, that he would lose to the Shadow King, and he won. But I mean, for fuck's sake, you know, out of the last 4 tournaments, he has been a finalist or a winner in 3 of them.
What tournament did he make the finals in?
Was it the Ultimate Sacrifice tournament?
Oh, yeah, that, okay. Yep, you're right. He's been there for a lot of them.
Yep. And I think that's going to be too much for Punk. I think Punk got beat the fuck up today. You know, unlike Honky Lips and stuff, you know, Punk went out there and had to earn his victory today. Arn Patrick hit him with just as much as Punk hit Arn Patrick with. He hit that fucking Bolo clothesline not once but twice. Now, he kicked out, but he had to duck that third one. He wasn't taking a third one from Arn Patrick. And I think that was...
Right.
But the fact that he took 2 of them earlier on, Punk is in Frankie Fisticuff's territory now. He's out of gas.
Do you think the ring rest and the time off's going to hurt him now?
Yeah, that too.
The deeper this is going.
That too.
All right, so since we're gonna play devil's advocate for a moment here, and we're gonna do something that I was thinking about. So you predicted Crawford and Doyle to win in the other block, in the AD block.
Yep.
And you predicted Welch and AJ the Giant to win in the CD block.
Yep.
Who comes out of those blocks to go to the final in those matches?
Well, the last time Crawford and Doyle fought 1-on-1, Doyle destroyed him. I don't mean like...
was not there.
Yeah, he won the belt from him, and he just took it from him, you know? And it was the same scenario that you were talking about with Doyle before, and just that, you know, it's hard to see him losing 1-on-1 matches.
Yeah.
But goddamn, there are human limits to these things, and I know I keep...
Has Doyle shown any of those though?
No, he is not. He's not shown any of those limits. Crawford's shown those limits. And Doyle is the type of... Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying Doyle, Crawford has.
Yeah. And Doyle is the type...
I had a mental thought of Doyle getting the humanizer on Crawford, and seeing Crawford trying to get up with that one.
Which drops him right on his head, which is another head drop, a guy that he's vulnerable to. But I'm saying that the champion is... I'm going with the champion.
So you think Crawford's going to come out of that bracket and be in the finals?
Yes.
Okay. That's not a bad pick.
The other half, I can't predict.
You'd have the Giant and
Kevin. I don't know who's going to win that match. I don't. That's a pick-em match.
Yep. Could go either way.
And either scenario is one that Kevin Welch, or Ryan Crawford really doesn't want to lose in the finals to either one of these guys.
No, especially AJ the Giant, because that's his tag team partner.
Yeah. Kevin Welch is his former tag team partner. Even if Honky Lips manages to win, then it's just another opportunity for the League of Shadows to avenge the loss to the Shadow King, or the victory over the Shadow King earlier.
True. But don't you feel that Honky Lips is avenging a lot of Shadow King's defeat?
Yes. Well, he's his most loyal thrall. What else is he supposed to do?
Well, I get it, but shouldn't it be the other way around? Shouldn't Shadow King be the one not losing and Honky Lips be the one losing? If you go by statistics only?
I mean, his name is MC Honky Lips, not MC Honky King.
No, but...
Which is a pretty good name, by the way.
I agree with you, but I'm saying is, like, if you look at it, the way this has been shown is that Shadow King was all powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But is it really the Shadow King running everything, or could it possibly be that Honky Lips is the actual brains behind the operation?
He's certainly the one that's been accomplishing the most. I mean, he was the one that won the tag team titles, like you highlighted earlier in the podcast. I mean, but Shadow King has made his mark. Make no mistake about it. He is a tremendous wrestler. He has tremendous matches, and is it not hard in any scenario that when you book someone up against him to not pick him as the favorite?
Oh no, you can't go against. That's true. But the more he loses, not loses, but the more he shows he's vulnerable. And Adrian the Giant's the one who exposed his vulnerability to start with.
Yes.
And now losing to Crawford, but he's struggled with top tier talent. I mean, he beat Rock Holly, but it was by that thing he does, that arm trick.
Yeah.
And he beat Brandon Bones, but Brandon Bones was weakened anyways. He's been through wars leading up to that.
Yeah.
So give Bones a couple weeks off and have him in the Shadow King rematch, and I think Bones has a good shot at winning it.
Right. Well, you know what? I mean, as a unit, they are definitely very strong. Rock Holly, Honky Lips, the Shadow King, they're definitely strong. They now control the book.
That's true.
So Shadow King's loss here, once again, basically forgives those losses by the amount of power that he's accrued.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So anyway, ultimately, Crawford versus the Giant, Crawford versus Punk, Crawford versus Welch, Crawford versus Honky Lips. I'll tell you what. I think Kevin beats Honky Lips. But if I'm wrong, and Honky Lips goes against Crawford in the finals, Honky Lips will beat the champion.
But then they will own all titles currently.
Well, he'll have a title shot.
Oh, yeah, no, not title shot. Sorry, not own title. My bad.
Yep.
Wouldn't that be something for Honky Lips, given his year last year?
Yep.
So I don't think he's get out of his own way in the D1 Climax.
Yep. And who knows? I mean, there's still a lot of other fish out there in the sea. I mean, let's not forget Kid Christian apparently has a unique opportunity. Whatever that is, that's going to be coming sometime in the near future. Cube
still has a title shot.
I think Cube can forget about his title shot. But who knows?
I don't know. Maybe he might become a thrall of the Shadow King, and then he turns into calls it his Money in the Bank title shot.
Yeah, who knows? Well, folks,
he didn't look very good though. So
yeah. So all right. Well, now it's your turn, motherfucker.
All right. So I can't go against Doyle. I'm committed to that. So Doyle comes out of the AB block as much as I want to see Crawford win it for my personal satisfaction. But I think Doyle comes out of that.
You're saying Doyle's going to the finals? Okay.
Yeah, I think Doyle wins the AB block, and I think probably Kevin Welch wins the CD block.
Oh, Kevin versus Ryan Doyle in a rematch from Kings of War and from the 20th anniversary show.
And main event for the tournament.
And from the second round of the Ultimate Sacrifice tournament, where keep in mind that in every scenario there, Kevin Welch is 3-0 against the unstoppable man Doyle.
Yeah, that's amazing. But also keep in mind, Kevin Walsh is, I believe, 0-1 against AJ the Giant.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 0-2. I'm not exactly sure. I know it's 0-1 for sure.
So,
anyway, look at of the 8 competitors that remain, I think you can come up with a good main event finals from any of those 8.
yes, absolutely. So, if you're saying it's Kevin Welch, if it's Kevin Welch and Ryan Doyle in the finals, who's winning?
As I said, I can't go against Doyle.
Can't go against Doyle.
So I'm sticking with Ryan Doyle. I mean, I made a prediction that Aaron Patrick was going to go to the finals, and look where that got me.
Yes. Can't argue with that, man.
And then you went with your prediction of Shadow King all the way, and look where that got you.
Yep.
You're still second on the seat of the Shadow King, even though you're not part of the League of Shadows anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's just the game is out to make us look like fools.
Apparently. So I never got to ask you, David, how does it feel not to have your binky anymore?
Not to have my binky?
Yeah, the Shadow King, your buddy, your pal.
I've been seeing a therapist and taking lots of narcotics, saying my prayers and taking my Vicodins.
A lot of self-medicating. Can't do the game.
Yeah, kinda.
You were a little upset, a little distraught during that event where you got kicked out.
You know what? The Shadow King is a motherfucker. Is he not?
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Well, folks, did you have anything else? Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about here?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, folks, that was our predictions. Apparently, I, Damian Andrews, am picking the champion to go to the finals. And did I actually predict who? Well, yeah, I said if Honky Lips goes to the finals against Crawford or anybody, like, he wins. But that being said, yeah, but otherwise and stuff like that, I'm if AJ makes it to the finals,
storyline: Crawford and AJ the Giant in the finals. AJ has not beaten Crawford one-on-one ever.
No, but you know what? You two motherfuckers finally got the whole show to yourself. You know what I mean?
It's only been like 2 years in the making.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you a little bit. Ray, just here on air and stuff. For me, just kayfabe off. Being Brandon for a second. The thing that, like, I was aiming most for. I was going to try and manipulate this game, as much as I possibly could to try and make this so that the main event at Matchmania was AJ the Giant versus Ryan Crawford.
That was a good thing, man.
Yeah, it's a good idea. You guys have been kept really far apart. It's still something that could potentially happen. We'll see what happens, But in a sense...
well, hey, it could still happen. I mean, it's just 2 wins.
Yeah.
You just need 2 wins in it. You get your match without even trying.
Right. Alrighty, folks. Well, that was the podcast here for you in the post-game show of the MVWF's Super 32 tournament. And for Eddie Stank, say goodbye, Eddie.
Goodbye, Eddie. Eddie out.
All right, folks, we are out of here. We will see you next week, for the semifinals. Coming to you from Orlando, Florida.